Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of another Dooley Noted podcast, as always presented by the great folks and title sponsors of the Bob Dooley Invitational. Titan MRI, we appreciate them so much. We had a huge meeting this week about it. The tournament it's unbelievable where it's going. I'm not going to bore you with details and all that, but it is going in great places, and we're excited about it. And, of course, we're coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, as we always do here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We've got a good show for you planned today. Paul Finebaum is going to join us, and we're looking forward to that very much. Great guy, and we'll kind of wrap up the SEC season and everything that he has seen so far. Looking forward to that. We'll have him on, and then, of course, Coach Spurrier on Monday. I think, and I'm not 100% on this, I think Ben Chase is going to join us for Yes, No Way, or Maybe on Monday. If you don't know who Ben is a former UF student, UF graduate who went to 77 football games all around the country this season, set a world record. And he's been written about, talked about, been on radio shows and stuff like that. But we wanted to have him on here. We were kind of waiting until it was all over because he was out there at SoFi. So our guest for Friday is still to be determined, but I got a good one I think we're going to have. So we'll see what happens. I can't wait Monday just to ask Coach Spurrier about the street that's being named him. Right out here, Tammy. This street is being named after him. That's pretty exciting. Oh, yeah, I'll be there. All right. Pat Dooley's here. Mrs. Dooley. Let's go to the Hand Law starting lineup. And, of course, the starting lineup, as always, is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. We love Chris Hand. Way to go, Chris. Great stuff. All right, number one. I don't even want to talk about the Jaden Rashada thing because by the time you probably listen to this, it's been resolved one way or the other. Personally, I don't care what happens here. No class is defined by one player. Everybody wants to say, well, what about the Tebow class? Well, the Tebow class was what defined it. Tebow was the front man, but to get all those other players, Spikes and Harvin and everybody. That's why Florida won national championships. Tebow was a big part of it, but I'm just saying no class is defined by one guy. In fact, I remember when Urban said that Omar Hunter was the Tebow of that class. And Omar was a really nice player, played for a long time, and but he wasn't, he wasn't epic. He wasn't legendary. The NIL stuff, obviously, is a whole issue, and there's a lot going on there. I will say this. There are about 11 stories out there, and all 11 stories are different. So I'm not going to even comment on it, and by this time, you probably know what happened, whether he came to Florida or didn't. I don't care. I really don't. If he does come, good for him. But I know there's a lot of people have been responding on Twitter and stuff like that about if you don't want to wear in the orange and blue, I don't care. Well, there's a lot of guys who maybe it's not about the orange and blue. It's about where did I get a good deal? Where do I want to go play that's going to best boost my chances? And don't forget, nobody that signs is signing for 3 or 4 years or 5, and in some cases 6 now. Although I guess that gets reduced because of COVID. The COVID goes out. Nobody is. This is all they're doing. Everybody who has signed a scholarship at every school in the country, this is where he wants to start. When I talked about this a while back. When they say, I'm home, no, you're not. I'm home. You are starting here. And where you're going to end up, there's no idea. You could be at East Carolina next year, whoever you are. So I'm not going to worry about it. We'll talk more about it on Monday, I'm sure. That's number one because it's the number one story that everybody's talking about. And everybody, has talked about whether it's a bad look for Florida. Well, Florida's not doing this. It's, the situation with the collective and the NIL and everything, which Florida doesn't run, but it's still going to be, the perception's going to be a bad look. And it's going to be a bad look for Napier, even though it's not his fault. It's just the way what we're dealing with now. Number two, let's talk a little basketball. I know it was back on Tuesday years ago, but Florida with a nice win. It wasn't an overwhelming win. It's not a good net team, and to be honest with you, watching them play, they really aren't very good. But I did love the way they played defense against LSU, and that was all they had because they couldn't shoot again. They had another, 5 for 22 on threes. But they're not going to stop shooting threes. I mean, they feel like they'll start going down eventually. They feel like you got to make sure you get good shots. There were a couple of bad ones. I'm not sure this is a skilled team in terms of shooting threes. They have good strokes. Myron Jones has got the worst stroke, and he's all of a sudden gotten hot, which is great for him. I feel happy for him. But Florida in basketball still needs to beat somebody. You're not going to go in without any quad 1 wins, and they have none right now. I think they're 0-6 against the quad 1. And, of course, the quads change and move around. They got a lot of big games coming up. One of them is Saturday against Missouri. Missouri would be a huge win for them. So we'll see what happens there. The good news for them is Missouri just went on the road to Texas A&M and got throttled. So maybe they're not a good road team. I don't know. We'll see. Florida's not a good team right now. Now they're getting better. And that's a good sign. I'm not saying it's a great sign. We'll see what happens. Number three, Florida, not overly active in the transfer portal as we talked about, but they're slowly, it's like a slow drip. They're slowly getting guys in that are going to help them next year. The latest being Micah Muskua, who was at Baylor, starting right guard for them. Obviously, that's a place of need with Osiris Torrance going out. So that's a big get for Florida. Hopefully he can come in here. And, the guys they're getting in the portal, they haven't gotten the big names and may not. The LSU, I'm trying to think, was it Hudson Walker? Is that his name? Anyway, the guy who was in that video with Brian Kelly dancing around has already gotten in the transfer portal. Maybe he ends up here. Maybe he ends up being the guy if it's not Rashad, whatever. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff. It's good when they get guys, and eventually they'll have to put them together, and we'll see what it looks like in spring. Actually, we won't see. We'll have to hear what it's going like in the spring. But I didn't want to let it go without talking about that. Number 4 on the hand loss starting lineup. I have to talk about the national championship, which has taken place since our last show, by just saying – I turned it off at 24-7. I said, they're never going to cover them. I give Coach Monken a lot of credit, the offensive coordinator who does a great job. And again, he's got freedom now. Kirby's not trying to like one of Will Muschamp's biggest flaws, and I love Will Muschamp. I texted him after they won the national title, told him congratulations. He texted me back. I told him he's going to run out of room for all those rings he's getting. But one thing that Will struggle with was he would sometimes be conservative on offense to help the defense, and because he was a defensive guy. I think Kirby probably started with a little bit of that, going on in his life. But that's gone now, and now he's said, no, look, this is college football. You better score a lot of points. You better be prepared to score a lot of points. So they're willing to wing it, and that's what they did. They came out throwing against TCU. I don't think TCU expected them to throw as much as they did. Look, the difference in talent, we know what it was. 66 4- and 5-stars at Georgia, 17 at TCU. TCU was very fortunate with how they beat Michigan. I'm glad they did. I loved watching that game. And we'll see. We'll see where TCU goes from here. Unfortunately, we have a bad feeling about where Georgia's going to go this year because, as many of you did after the game or some point during the game, you went and looked at Georgia's schedule next year, which, and I will say this, Greg McGarity was near the front of the line in terms of starting to realize we better start scheduling better Power 5 teams. We better go to Oklahoma and Notre Dame and stuff like that, because eventually there's going to be a 12-team playoff or a playoff of some kind that's going to expand, and we want to be positioned for it with these games already scheduled. And that's the conversation we had. Plus, as we all know, attendance has dropped. I'm curious to see what it was this year. I know at Florida it didn't, but attendance has dropped in college football for, I think, 7 straight years. It's not enough just to be playing. You got to play somebody. Well, this year, not so much with Georgia. Their schedule is unbelievably easy. Unbelievably easy. There is only one losable game on that schedule. I don't care if Tammy is playing quarterback. They can still go 11-1. Tennessee at Tennessee is the only one where you go, I can see them losing that game. But let me tell you what, they're going to be preseason number 1, and they probably aren't going to lose a game. So it's how they do in the playoffs. That's what it's going to be about. Their biggest problem is going to be don't look ahead to the playoffs. It really is, which I've seen with baseball and softball teams here at Florida, or I've seen with basketball teams at Florida as well. But it's a Georgia world. We're all just living in it. Everybody's going through one of those, though. Not everybody, but it's happened. Alabama had its run. Florida had its run. Now, it only lasted, I guess it lasted, you could say it lasted 4 years. But because they were in the championship game the 4th year. But those 3 years under Urban, Florida owned college football during that stretch from 06 to 08. Florida owned college football. Steve Spurrier, as great as he was, owned the SEC, but he didn't own college football. He only played in 2 national titles and lost one of them. So, there were other teams. There were the Nebraskas and everything. There was a stretch when Miami owned college football, as we all know. FSU did a little tiny stretch with Jameis Winston. That was really the last one they had. My point is, these things go in cycles. Unfortunately, Georgia's not out of their cycle yet. And that is why Gator fans right now are so mad at everybody, and they're trying to blame everybody they can find for Georgia winning that championship. It's kind of funny sometimes. This makes good radio. Finally, I wanted to look number 5. I wanted to look at Florida's schedule next year. Going with Mark Schlabach's way too early top 25, which he does every year. We'll probably have Mark on soon again here. He's been on before. But I was just looking at what he has for what he thinks they're going to be next year. Florida plays 5 of the top 13 teams. Number 1, Georgia. Number 4, FSU. Number 8, LSU. Number 10, Tennessee. Number 13, Utah. 2 of them on the road, 1 neutral site. It's going to be tough again next year. And again, with a team that's basically being thrown together. Not thrown together, but it's a weird mix right now. It's still a rebuilding. The rebuilding isn't even close to being done. It's in its infant stages right now. So we'll see what happens there. But and before we go and leave the Hanlaw starting lineup, I wanted to say a couple things. DeMar Hamlin home from the hospital is so great. I know they moved him to the hospital Buffalo. Now he's gone home. It's a great story. The bad story, Lisa Marie Presley on Thursday passed away Thursday night. We had just seen her at the Golden Globes. And again, in both cases, cardiac arrest. Now, again, I don't know all the details with Lisa Marie, but, a lot depends on where you have your issue. DeMar Hamlin had it in the right place. Lisa Marie Presley home, and I think she was alone. But, then you've got to get people there. Mike Leach sound asleep when he went, and so nobody found him for a long time, and it was too late. It's all about where you are. So I would say walk around with a defibrillator at all times. I mean, I feel terrible about Lisa Marie Presley dying, but I feel bad about anybody dying, to be honest with you. Other than Hitler. That was okay. That one was all right. Never mention Hitler in a broadcast. That's my rule. But I just did. All right. I know we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by the great Paul Finebaum of the SEC Network, the legend himself, here on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town.
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
The games of the week and the games of the weekend every week are brought to you by the Ben Ige team at Odell Realty. Ben Ige graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. He and his team now help Gators find vacation homes in western North Carolina that also double as investment properties. Ben and his team have helped many folks take advantage of the incredible opportunities in mountain homes that also produce amazing returns on investments. Ben Ige and his team at Odell Realty go the extra mile to find properties and evaluate their income potential for their clients. Maybe you've thought of buying a home that can be used as short-term rental via Airbnb or Vrbo, generate income for you, and be a place for your family to vacation. Or you may just be looking for a great way to expand your real estate investment portfolio. I know I am. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators. That's www.beneige.com/Gators and discover what owning your own short-term home can accomplish for you. That's Ben Ige at Odell Realty, licensed real estate broker in North Carolina and proud Gator alum. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators or call 704-201-4264. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's a grill honor and a pleasure to bring in our friend Paul Finebaum, SEC Network legend. You got a guy that calls your show named Legend, but you're the real legend. I mean, you should tell him that's copyright infringement.
Yeah, Pat, the difference between that legend and this legend is I haven't been to jail for murder. But other than that, there's no big deal.
So far. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it could still happen.
I did want to ask you before we get going how my man Brandon Zimmerman's doing up there. I haven't seen him in a while.
He's doing great. No, he's the news editor for the SEC Network. He started making regular appearances on our show, and he's become famous.
Yeah, well, I taught him everything he knows, and that's what I like to tell people.
And look at your career.
Yeah, that's right. Which is going nowhere. Anyway, I want to start out by talking about, because I watched your show all week, this week, obviously Georgia fans are crowing, Alabama fans are mad, Gator fans are madder than anybody, believe it or not, because they can't understand how this was allowed to happen at Georgia, as if nobody else spends money. But what is the mood of the Alabama faithful right now? I think they feel there's part of it is like, hey, we'd have given you guys a better show than TCU did.
Yeah, well, one said yesterday, as only Alabama fans can do, is it really legitimate if you didn't beat Alabama? So that's their mindset is I think it's in denial because they still believe, Pat, that they are in the middle of a dynasty. I've tried to explain to them that they've won one title out of the last 5, and Georgia is going for its 3rd straight. But Bama math doesn't always compute well, and I only lived there for 33 years, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. And this is a tough time for them because they do not want to accept that maybe, and I say the word maybe, things are changing.
Well, and obviously we've seen this happen before, where people went on little dynasty runs, mini dynasty runs. Alabama had its. Florida had a little stretch there, obviously with Urban Meyer. Now Georgia's in its. But I think a lot of Gator fans, the problem they had was at some point in that game or maybe the next day, looked at Georgia's schedule for next year and went, oh. Crap, they're going to do it again.
Yeah, I have never seen, at least on paper, 9 months before the season, an easier schedule, Pat. I mean, it's absurd. And again, before we all get too crazy here, and I apologize for the bulldog barking. He's actually not a bulldog, but
it's all right. We're dog friendly here.
They were supposed to play Oklahoma, and which would have been, I don't know, maybe not even that great of a game, but it's better than Ball State or whatever they replaced it with. And because Oklahoma's connection to coming into the SEC, that game was scrapped. And they have a miserable schedule. And for Georgia, that's unusual because the last couple of years they've played Clemson and Oregon and Notre Dame. So they're not – it's not like the Dogs are afraid to go elsewhere. But in their conference schedule, they do go to Tennessee. But other than that, I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. It's not particularly challenging.
I think they have Ole Miss and Auburn are their cross division rivalries, but those don't strike fear into anybody's heart really. No. I mean, they're good teams, but I don't know about how good Auburn's going to be this year. I mean, I was amazed that Brian Harsin failed so miserably there.
Yeah, I think you'd have to say it's one of the most epic fails in modern SEC history. And I'm not talking about a Vanderbilt or even maybe an Arkansas Chad Morris. I'm talking about one of the schools that has won a national championship in recent memory. It was a disaster.
Paul Finebaum coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. And Paul, I want to talk to you about, because obviously we're dealing with it here in Gainesville a lot. Which is the worst of the two evils that we're not going to be able to get rid of, the portal or the NIL to you?
I think it's the portal, Pat. And based on what coaches tell me, and I'm sure you, they can't control it. They're always under assault. No matter the day after the signing class is complete, somebody's trying to steal one of their players. NIL at least is it's not equitable, but you at least have a fighting chance. You know what the market is, and you can control it a little bit. But the portal is just never ending, and I think that's what is keeping coaches up all night, not late at night.
I worry about it driving coaches out of the game, older coaches, and the only reason like a coach would leave for the NFL who had a great situation would be the NIL on the portal and go, look, I want to go somewhere where I know the rules, because nobody knows what the rules are in college football now.
Well, I don't think there are. I mean, I remember a week ago I was on a national show and they were asking me, "Oh, Jim Harbaugh could be in trouble. Jim Harbaugh could be suspended." I'm like, "Going, are you out of your mind?" And nobody really cares about this anymore. They don't even care about it if it happened like Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee before NIL went into effect. It's just now the NCAA is a punchline. So nobody is going to get into serious trouble. I mean, here's Jim Harbaugh, Pat. He's under serious NCAA investigation. It looks like the allegations are that he misled the NCAA. He lied to them. That's a serious charge if you go back in time.
Yep.
And the president of the school issued a statement yesterday saying, "We're talking to Coach Harbaugh, and we certainly hope he stays." I mean, you would have never gotten that even 3 years ago, let alone 30 years ago.
Well, Bruce Pearl got fired basically for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the biggest, most egregious offense he had, was he lied to the NCAA about it and tried to get other people to lie about it as well. Interesting that Dabo, I know you love Dabo, makes that move yesterday, fires his offensive coordinator. They're trying to hire Garrett Riley, Lincoln Riley's brother. It feels totally to me like a Nick Saban move. Like remember when Saban changed his whole offense and now they're throwing the ball? Well, I guess it's time for us to start doing that.
Yeah. Dabo Swinney has, 4 years ago today, was coming off of a 28-point win over Alabama and had won 2 out of the last 3 titles against Alabama and literally had the college football world by its tail. And in fairness, he played one more time for the championship the next year against Joe Burrow. But since then, the program looks rocky, and I mean, it's still winning 10 games, but losing to Tennessee was a terrible look for them, especially with Hendon Hooker out. And a lot of people acted surprised this week that happened, but it should not be. I mean, he's got to salvage this program, and I'll state the obvious. It looks finally like someone else is going to challenge them, and that's Florida State.
Right. Yeah, that's unfortunate here for Gator fans. They don't like that. But and speaking of Gator fans and the Gator Nation, I mean, you're looking at a distance from this, but I know you do have a lot of connections, and you're here often for games. It's what Florida fans have gone through with 2 straight 6 and 7 years. It's kind of a mix of the fan base. Half of them are like, we believe in this guy. It's going to take a while. We're willing to wait for it. And the other half are, why can't we get Belichick and fix this problem, or recruit Saban, give him $20 million and get him to come fix the problem?
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that states the obvious and then comes in for the kill. I just prefer to come right in for the kill. But I'll state the obvious here that I do think Billy Napier is a smart coach and has a reasonable chance of being successful. By no means guaranteed. But I came away less than impressed with the first year, and I don't know the circumstances like you guys do of what's going on with the controversy over the recruit. Yeah. It seems like it changes.
We don't know
every
either,
hour.
To be honest with you.
Yeah. but if that ends up going poorly for him, the reaction is going to be obvious, as you well know. You live there and have. So I think he has to be careful. And the excuse that Dan Mullen has used was, I didn't have the facilities. Everybody's tired of hearing that excuse, and I'm not in the position to do an autopsy on the program like you guys can about why it took so long for Florida to get to where it is. But it's there now. There's no more excuses.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the most important thing. I saw Mullen the other night, and I asked him how he thought Florida did in recruiting, and he just nodded his head because I think it doesn't look that different to me, Pat, from a distance, and I'm considerably far away, and it has to change because the SEC East, it seems like it's slipping away from the Gators at the moment, and that's a bad thing. Forget Florida, forget Georgia. I mean, right now, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky. I mean, these are problems, and if Florida ends up not holding on to that position of trying to challenge for the top, then I'm concerned about where the program goes in the future. And I think a lot of people are pointing fingers easily at the administration, and now a new president is parachuting in, and I don't know what that means.
No, I don't think any of us really know exactly what's going to happen there, but it is interesting, and you know, the dynamics of it. It does feel different in everything they're doing, and you read stuff and you see. I mean, I'm here at Coach Spurrier's Grill, and they're here all the time. You know, there's recruiting things going on, and people love it and everything. But the numbers, when you look at who they got, it still came down to NIL money, and that's where. And I think the biggest problem, Paul, is most people think they know everything about NIL, and they know nothing about NIL.
Right.
And that may include me.
Yeah. Another concern is, and listen, I hang around a lot of Gators, so I travel with Tebow, so I get what happened there in the past. But Pat, I mean, let's be honest. Florida today doesn't really, grab that much of a reaction from a 17-year-old. Those kids don't remember the last time Florida was a serious contender for the national championship. They don't remember Spurrier, Urban, and all they have seen is. I mean, they're too young to even know about Will Muschamp. I mean, they know Dan Mullen, what he did there, and what's happened now, and that's really their existence here in the last 5 to 8 years of them growing up and being aware. And Georgia's the team, Alabama's the team, LSU has come and gone, and I think that's a real problem because for so long Florida really instilled fear in people. Nobody wanted to play Florida when Steve was there. Nobody wanted to play Florida when Urban was there. Who doesn't want to play Florida now?
Yeah, I totally. Who does? There's a lot of people don't want to watch them, but
no, I agree.
especially in meaningless bowl games where they bring out their worst. But let me ask you about Coach Saban and what I mean. I don't know that he knows when he's going to retire. So anybody that is guessing on it, I think, is just throwing a number out there. Is that the way you kind of look at it?
I've always tried to think, like, how would I handle it? And I was wrong because I thought, after the last title, he might say, you know what, this is a good way to exit, except he had Bryce Young. And I don't think he wanted to miss on Bryce Young and Will Anderson. So, he came back for 21, and obviously for this year was supposed to be automatic, and it didn't happen. And now he's found himself in a real issue. Until this year, you could really, and some people still can't talk about that Nick Saban doesn't run college football anymore. And I think that's going to become an awkward conversation. I know the moment the other night went viral, but David Pollack didn't say anything that others aren't saying loudly. They just may not be saying it to him. But Pat, if you had Nick Saban on this podcast, or if I was on that set the other night, the question is not being disrespectful. It's just where do you feel Alabama fits right now into the ecosystem? Kirby Smart is about to go for a three-peat. So these are obvious things. He knows that. And I don't know what his path is. He may have already stayed too long because he's got to swim himself out of this, and it's uphill. And by no means am I saying it's automatic that Georgia wins next year. I mean, winning three in a row is one of the nobody's ever done it. So I'm not about to say it's easy. Alabama was in a pretty good spot in 2013, and it took a 100-yard return on a missed field goal that should have never even happened because the game should have gone to overtime.
Right.
But so I mean, I think and he's also got a more serious problem, a more pressing problem, is he's probably on the verge of replacing both coordinators. One's going to leave, Bill O'Brien, Titans, Patriots. He's leaving, and the other guy, Pete Golding, needs to leave. So what does he do there, and who does he replace these guys with?
Yeah, it could be really interesting because it could start assistant coach dominoes going. Once Alabama's looking for somebody, they're going to get pretty much whoever they want,
right.
And then that means somebody else has to hire a new offensive or defensive coordinator. By the way, I didn't know if you knew it, but next month they're going to name this street out here for Steve Spurrier. So I don't know what they're going to call it. I think it should be Steve Spurrier Pass, right? Because he was a great passer.
Yeah, no, I would not I wouldn't just say Steve Spurrier Avenue or Boulevard. You could say, can't you say? Yeah, I think you can use the word pass.
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, we'll see if that happens. Before we let you go, Paul, it's time to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Street dining done the right way. You can go in there and get free fries with your order if you mention another duly noted podcast. Yes, nowhere, maybe, Paul Finebaum. Number one, your favorite coach, Jim Harbaugh, is going to be in the NFL next year.
I'm going to go maybe. The only reason I can't say yes is that I don't know if anybody wants him. I know he wants to go, and I think he should go. So it's a maybe only because it takes two. And so far, I've yet to find an owner in the NFL that wants him badly.
And there are not a ton of openings. I mean, there are a couple, obviously. I guess Carolina technically is open, right?
Yeah, and they've already ruled him out. So it really will come down to Indianapolis, Denver, and whatever else is open.
Yeah, exactly. Number two on Yes, No, Where, Maybe, Jim Phillips will be the new Big Ten commissioner. Of course, Kevin Warren taking a job with the Bears.
I would say no. He has not been spectacular as the ACC commissioner, and I think that would concern the new group of presidents who run the Big Ten. He was a good athletic director at Northwestern, but he's yet to show he can dominate that room in college football, in college athletics.
And Kevin Warren did make those guys a lot of money, and that was his best forte. And they kind of need to keep that going. You know, that's what it's all about, is grant of rights deals.
And I think Jim Phillips is an old school guy. I like him. I mean, he's the kind of guy that still believes in integrity in college athletics, which doesn't get you commissionerships anymore.
No. All right. So I mentioned to you that Coach Spurrier has a street named after him. We'll have a street named after him next month. Is there anything named after you? Yes, nowhere, maybe.
There's absolutely nothing named after me, I finally got into the first Hall of Fame this year, and it was the weirdest thing in the world. So I mean, you would think I'd be in a bunch of Hall of Fames, but I'm not. I don't get honored. I don't get anything, Pat. So if you know some like local Civitan club in Ocala that wants to name me Man of the Year, I'm available.
Yeah. Well, what Hall of Fame did you get into?
Well, this
Alabama?
is the strange part. Well, I was selected to be in the University of Alabama School of Communication Hall of Fame. And it just so happened the event was on Thursday night before the Tennessee game in Knoxville. And I was going to joke about, and you know where I'm going here, in my speech about I was going to be on a plane the next morning, going back to my alma mater, where 40 years ago this Saturday, an upstart Tennessee upset the number 2 team in the country in Alabama, and it pretty much ended Bear Bryant's career. So right before the event, the president of the university comes over and said, "Paul, congratulations." He said, "We're just so proud of our graduates." And 25 minutes later, he found out I didn't go to Alabama. I'm a Tennessee graduate.
Well, you're one up on me on Hall of Fame. I have not been elected to a Hall of Fame. I think Steve has been in like 12. He's in 12 right now. I went into another one the other day. I think some people just want to get him to come talk. So
no, it's amazing. I saw Gary Pinkel about 3 weeks ago. I've seen him twice in the last 2 weeks, and he was and both times I saw him, he was going into a Hall of Fame. I mean, that's what you do when you retire. You go into Hall of Fame. So, Pat, here's the deal. You and I are going to come up with this organization. The SEC Sports Writers Hall of Fame, and you and I will be the charter members, and then we'll select who we want, and we're not selecting people we don't like, so it's going to be a very small group.
Yeah, we may put Bob Holt in third, huh? You know,
that would be good.
One of the nice guys.
And the fun part is we'll tell. I was with Tebow the other day, right after he got named
Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And
he's in a few Hall of Fames, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was somewhat moved by that, the fact that Mullen was with him. But that's not a Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm not going to be in any important Hall of Fames, but
no,
it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the Gainesville Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the Gainesville Touchdown Club. I'm available for their Hall of Fame.
There you go. Is there an ESPN Hall of Fame or an SEC? Maybe start an SEC Network Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Now I might, since I was the first person they hired for the SEC Network, there's a chance I could be in that one. But I think you have to be gone 5 years first. Yeah. And fortunately, I'm still there.
They have to start it too as well.
They do.
Paul, it's always a great pleasure to talk to you. Always fun. I love doing it, and I appreciate your time. And I really wanted to get you on just to kind of talk about where we are in college football, and it's great to talk to you. I will see you soon, buddy.
Pat, it's always a pleasure. So next time I see you, I'm going to say, Pat, how you doing, Hall of Famer?
I hope so. I don't know which one it'll be.
Put this man in a Hall of Fame. Come on.
We'll see you, buddy. We'll be right back with more on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We're going to get to, of course, we got a really good Leonardo's quick picks this week. We got our Odell Realty games of the weekend. You know what we got. We got all yes, no, where, maybe. All that stuff is coming up. We already did yes, no, where, maybe. This, that, and the other, though. We've got that coming up. We'll be back with more here on another duly noted podcast. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another duly noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley's Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
The games of the week and the games of the weekend every week are brought to you by the Ben Ige team at Odell Realty. Ben Ige graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. He and his team now help Gators find vacation homes in western North Carolina that also double as investment properties. Ben and his team have helped many folks take advantage of the incredible opportunities in mountain homes that also produce amazing returns on investments. Ben Ige and his team at Odell Realty go the extra mile to find properties and evaluate their income potential for their clients. Maybe you've thought of buying a home that can be used as short-term rental via Airbnb or Vrbo, generate income for you, and be a place for your family to vacation. Or you may just be looking for a great way to expand your real estate investment portfolio. I know I am. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators. That's www.beneige.com/Gators and discover what owning your own short-term home can accomplish for you. That's Ben Ige at Odell Realty, licensed real estate broker in North Carolina and proud Gator alum. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators or call 704-201-4264. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Great to have Paul on. Love having him on. Try to get him about twice a year because he's a busy man, as we all know. So good to have him on. And again, Monday, Coach Spurrier will be back in here, and anyway, we'll talk about that later. Let's get to all of our fun stuff that we always like to do here, and we'll start off with the Odell Realty, and of course Ben Ige, who does a great job for Odell Realty. Their games of the weekend. I'm pretty going heavy here on the reason to do the games of the weekend is to let people know what channels it's on, what time it is, so you don't go, hey, what? No, we're trying to give you this, and we want to talk about it too. So here are the NFL games. I'll give them all to you. Seattle at San Francisco, 4:30 on Fox Saturday. Now, it's supposed to rain. 90% chance, I think. I don't know. It's crazy what's going on out there, but 90% chance. That may actually help Seattle. That is the game you look at and you go, Geno Smith can't handle their defense. But then you go, if it's raining, you never know what can happen in a rain game. Of course, the Chargers at the Jaguars, 8:15 on NBC is where it is. They get a primetime game again. Jaguars are good TV. People, I don't know, they're just taking off as far as popularity. Then Sunday, Miami at Buffalo, 1 o'clock CBS. I think a lot of us feel like, why bother? Buffalo's going to throttle them. We'll see what happens, but that's not going to be must-see TV, I wouldn't think. The Giants at Minnesota, 4:30 on Fox. That game could go either way. I'll be rooting for Minnesota because of Robbie. That's his team. And then, of course, Baltimore at Cincinnati, 8:15 on NBC. That is the other Sunday game. I don't think Baltimore's got a shot there. The game I'm really looking forward to Monday night, Dallas at Tampa Bay, 8:15 on ESPN. So you know where all the games are. You know what times they are because they keep flashing them up there singularly, and you go, yeah, but anyway. All right, so some other things that are on that you want to watch this weekend. Missouri at Florida, obviously, is a 3:30 game. It's a big game for Florida because Missouri's still got a really good net, even though they lost to Texas A&M the other night. That is going to be on the SEC network if you're not going or if you live elsewhere. I'm on the fence about going or not. We'll see if I do or not. And then, of course, Florida women play at 3 Sunday. I think I said last week they played Tennessee this week or on Monday, and they didn't. I don't know where there was something I misread. They play Kentucky. It's here. It's in Gainesville. 3 o'clock on Sunday. And then, of course, gymnastics is tonight if you're going over there, 7:15. I think I said 6:15 before because they usually do 6:45. I'm sorry. Now they're doing 7:15. They moved the times 7:15, and that is on ESPN2. So it's on TV. Tammy is going. She's trying to talk me into going. I'm still on the fence about that one, too. All right, that is our Odell Realty games of the weekend. Thanks to Ben Eig for being a part of our show, and we appreciate him. Let's do this, that, and the other. This, that, and the other every Friday is brought to you by the great folks at Ballyhoo Grill, another sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational. The great folks at Dar Shakow, who have been title sponsors in the past of the Bob Dooley Invitational, and Ironwood Golf Course, where the Bob Dooley Invitational takes place. It's going to be fun. This one's going to be the best. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, this is going to be the best one we've ever had. I wasn't that convinced we were even going to do it. And now that I'm into it, I'm getting a lot of help, and things are going great. I am so happy about that. All right, this is, you know me, one of my mantras is you have to play around the officiating or refereeing or umpiring. Well, it's still, you're allowed to be driven crazy by it. As a fan, though, you can't play around it, but players have to play around it. If a pitch is way off the corner and they call it a strike to make it 0-2, you got to find a way to get on base. You still got to remove the runner over. It's not. You can be mad. Tom Petty said it best. You can look back, but it's best not to stare. Always be looking forward. So you got to go to the next pitch. So I do strongly feel it, but it does drive you nuts how bad they can be. Now we have instant replay, as you know, and that's that we got instant replay for close plays at first, other plays, different plays. You know, it's been around college baseball. I want to say 4 years, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I've been wrong before, but I think it has been. That's that. And the other is, well, guess what? They're going to add robot umpires in AAA ball now. It's basically an experiment to see how it works. Half the games will have robots for umpires. Now, all I can see is that movie Short Circuit and that robot coming up and do not disassemble, you know, and him calling ball one. But I don't know how exactly it's going to work. I can't wait to see it, though. But half the games are going to have robots. Half the games are going to have robots available, but you get 3 challenges in a game. I don't know what's going to come out of this, but you get a feeling that they're going to be robot umps very soon, and then they'll take over the world. I've seen that movie. Can't remember which one. iRobot. You ever see that movie, iRobot? Will Smith. I think it's Will Smith. Yeah, it's really actually pretty good. Pretty good. So that is this, that, and the other for today. Our Leonardo's of Millhopper quick picks, and right here I have the winner. He's coming by today to get it. His $25 gift certificate at Leonardo's and a signed copy of my book, which has been just recently updated, Game of My Life. If you want a copy, you know how you get it? Just call me. Send me a check. I've got a few left, but I am holding on to some to be able to give away for the contest because we love our people that get into the contest. Here, it's very simple this week. All you have to do is tell me what is the record going to be for the state NFL teams for these 3 games. They're playing 3 games. You know who I just went over who they are. So you've got until 8 o'clock or 8 or so on Saturday night to get it in. So I should give you plenty of time to get it in. But just give me the record. 3-0, not likely. 2-1, 1-2, 0-3. 4 possible answers. Can't go 0-2-1 because there's no ties in the playoffs. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them. My personal opinion, I would go with 1 and 2, but don't let me be an influencer. I know I'm not an influencer. All right, so that is our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And, boy, Kyle over there at Leonardo's is hard at work on the golf tournament, already doing some great stuff, and great friend, also a title sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational. Let us get to Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. Yeah, we love Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. And, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-on-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. It's pretty impressive. And if you don't believe me, just check out their 55-star Google reviews, or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. All right, the three things. Number one, wow, Kentucky basketball. They stink. Now, they're not supposed to. They've got the player of the year back. They've got a great point guard that terrorized Florida when he was at Georgia and still is. They got him back. They get the number one recruiting class in the country. They're 1-3 in the SEC. They're awful. Now, I fear that this is a typical Calipari. We're going to start off really bad, and everybody's going to doom and gloom them, and then they're going to do something at the end. But don't forget, last 2 years they had the worst SEC record in school history and the worst NCAA tournament loss in the first round of school history. So maybe it's just not working there. There was a sign somebody had in the stands. It said, "Please go to Texas." Now, I don't even think it had Calipari's name on it. Of course, Texas just fired their coach. They removed the guy who had the sign. Maybe there's a rule against signs. I don't know. Maybe there's a rule against Calipari signs. It's going to be interesting to watch it. That's all I can say. But I will say one thing he said that I agree with, and it's very important to think about, is he said, blame me, don't blame the players, support the players. And really that is what every fan should be doing all the time. These are still kids. Now, if a kid gets and does something terrible outside the law and you want to back away from him, I kind of get that. But because he threw a pick doesn't make him a bad person. You want to blame somebody, blame the coaches. Coaches are always culpable because they're the ones doing it. They're the ones instructing them. They're the ones working them out. They're the ones evaluating. No, there's some coaches deserve more credit than others and more blame than others. But I do agree with what he said there. I think it'd be better. Number two, let's talk when we're talking about coaches and we were talking about Harbaugh trying to find a landing spot, although he hadn't been ejected from anywhere. The big hire this year is going to be whoever gets Sean Payton. Now, there are a couple teams interested. The Texans are interested. I think the Colts are interested, but Denver's actually interviewing him. And of course, there will be compensation for the Saints because he left them. But he's the it guy right now. Everybody wants him that has an opening, and there are at least 4, I think there are right now, and we'll see where that goes. Finally, on Hesser and Kipke's three things, this is number 3. It's a little bit of Pat Dooley story time mixed in. I will do another Pat Dooley story time, but I was thinking about this because we were talking about the 99 season. I heard somebody say on the air 97 was the last time that 3 teams from the state of Florida made it. But no, it was 99. I went back and looked it up to make sure. And as I looked it up, I go, hey, I was at 2 of these games. I totally forgot. I was at it was the Dolphins against the Jaguars in Jacksonville. And the score was very Georgia TCU-like, 62-7. The Jaguars won, and that was Marino's last game, and it was the last game I think my dad went to. He went to that game, and he always took pride in the fact that year he got to see Marino's last game and Gene Sarazen's last shot at Augusta. And he did. He got to see both things that year. That was really cool. So I remember that. Then I also covered the Bucks St. Louis Rams game. That was a championship game to go to the Super Bowl up there in St. Louis. I talk about this all the time. Papers used to print money, used to send people everywhere. It was great. That was also the year of the Music City Miracle, which was pretty cool. So what a playoff that was in '99. But yeah, that was the last time all 3 teams from the state were in. And I think there was a stat that every game in the playoffs that year was played with a temperature of 50 or above. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Let us get to our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And Adam is the Gator of the Week because I'm going to go by there and get some barbecue tomorrow. I know that. So the Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. And I know his name comes up a lot, but I gotta use him, Colin Castleton. I mean, he played his tail off the other night. They wouldn't get him the ball, and he didn't mope. He just kept playing hard. They were taking all these threes and missing them, weren't even throwing the ball in. He kept playing hard, ended up in last two games, got 11 block shots. That's hard to do. He's playing his tail off. And making all those free throws he made, especially down the stretch, he was the difference in the game, and I appreciate him. And some people kind of, they go up and down with him, but I think he plays hard all the time, and that's all you want. He's a guy that likes being a Gator. So we talked about other people that don't, maybe. And so Colin Castleton, again, I think he's been it before, is our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. We'll have a lot to choose from this weekend with gymnastics and men's and women's basketball. There's other sports starting up now, and, of course, we're not far from the start of baseball and softball. So excited about that as well. In fact, we may get Sully on at some point before the season starts. All right, let us get to Pat Dooley Storytime, brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. We appreciate them so much at East Lake Pediatrics. And this is a story that I thought about this week, and because of all the NIL stuff we're dealing with. One thing I thought about was Lomas Brown. One reason that it's hard to make an argument for Lomas Brown, not for me, but for some people, to get in the Ring of Honor, was he was caught up in the violations Florida had on Charlie Pell. He took money for his comp tickets, and that's what a lot of players all over the country did. Florida did it, but you go, I'll give you $400 for those two $20 tickets, and that was kind of a way to get the money. It wasn't legal. He admitted to it. He didn't think it was wrong. He didn't know it was wrong, I don't think. Now everybody go, that's all you got? Hey, I got a new Mercedes for giving him my tickets. It's a different world we live in, but still, I don't think it should be held against him personally. But it reminded me, with all this NIL talk and what guys can do and what they can't do, one day, I think it was 96 or it was 97, I think. I was a single man living at Wind Meadows apartment, so I had to do my laundry in the Wind Meadows laundromat. And I went over there, and I was doing my laundry, and there was a shopper there. And so I got to read something while I'm waiting for it. So I'm looking at it, it's boring. And all of a sudden I see this ad, and it says, come meet Mike Peterson, Fred Taylor, all these, Javon Curse. It wouldn't have been Fred Taylor. It might have been Fred Taylor. Javon Curse, all these guys at this Alachua car dealership. I'm like, what? Guys, I took it home. And I called Jamie McCloskey. I go, you got a little problem here. I know you can get it resolved so these guys don't lose any eligibility, because this was during the offseason. And sure enough, he had to suspend them until he got it all cleared up, and they couldn't go. I always felt bad. Whoever that car dealer was, I'm sorry that I had to do that. Because if I didn't do it, those guys would have probably missed a game, maybe two. But that is the difference. That's where we are. Think about how far that has come. Think about how some guys got in trouble. I think Riddell got in trouble for buying pizzas illegally, and got suspended. And all kinds of people got suspended for things back then. I remember when, this is no lie, these guys all have agents now, right? I remember when Brad Wilkerson told me, I was going to a football game, getting ready to park, and he said, hey, yeah, I got Scott Boros is working with me now. I go, really? I said, so I guess you're going out after this. He goes, well, I don't know for sure, but blah, blah. This is before his junior season. I go, so I write it in a column. I say, hey, if you're wondering if Brad Wilkerson's leaving after his junior year, he signed Scott Boros, and I think that tells you everything you need to know. Jamie McCloskey read it. He had to declare him ineligible. Now, luckily, again, it was the off season. They had time to work through it and find out he was just an advisor, which you were allowed to have, and they got it all worked out. The world is different. The world is a vampire also. Do you know what song that is? No. Okay. I think that's Smashing Pumpkins, I think, but I'm probably wrong. All right. That is going to do it for our show. Thanks to Paul Finebaum for being on. We'll get Coach Spurrier on Monday, talk about his new street. I want to find out what the name of it's going to be. Steve Spurrier, this, that, and the other. That'd be a good one for him. But we'll be back on Monday. Thanks to Tammy. Wonderful job. She always does producing. Until next time, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back. And I am out of here.